Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Reika and today we are going to make this cute little ghost. I'd just like to ask you, if you find this tutorial useful, then click on like and subscribe to my channel just to support it. And let's jump right into it. So I am in a new startup file, and what I'll do first is select my light and my camera, press M to move to new collection, call it cam and light, and just click on create. And here in the outliner, I'm just going to hide this folder. Also, I don't need the timeline because we are not making an animation. So when this crosshair appears in the corner of your 3D viewport, pull it downwards until you see join areas, and then just let the mouse button go so we can optimize the space. So that's great. Right, let's click on the cube, press X and delete it. I'm gonna go to front view with one on my numpad, press Shift A to add mesh UV sphere. I use the wheel of my mouse to zoom in a little bit, and I press Tab to go into edit mode. Alt and Z together takes you to X-ray mode. You can also turn it on here. And I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard, so not on my numpad, on my keyboard, to go to face mode, but you can also go there here. Holding down my left mouse button, I'm going to box select all these button faces, press X and click on faces, and that will delete the faces I have selected. Now I'm going to press 2, that will take me to edge mode. You can select it here as well. And just to show you, if I click any of these edges, it will only select one, but if I hold down Alt and then click, it will select the whole edge loop. I'm gonna go back to front view with numpad 1, press E to extrude, and then Z to extrude down on the Z axis. Extrude it down to about this much, and then E to extrude on the Z again and pull it down to around here. So that's great. Now let's go to vertex mode with 1 on your keyboard. You can also select it here. Now you can see all of these vertices are selected, but I want to select every 2 and then 2 deselect, 2 select, 2 deselect. And the way to do that is go up here to the select menu, go to checkered deselect, and now you can see every second vertex is selected in the edge loop. If you bring up this menu, you can change both of these numbers to 2, and then it will be 2 selected, 2 deselected. So you can see it there. So that's great. Let's go back to front view. And what I'll do is I press G and Z and just bring it down a little bit like that. And also press S to scale them up like that. So that's great. I'll press A to select all, and I'm going to scale it down, but I only want to scale it on the X and Y axis. So press Shift Z, and that will exclude the Z axis. So I want to make it about this big. Great. Now we can tab back into object mode and turn off X-ray. And what we want is to add a subdivision surface modifier, which you can add here. If you go to your modifiers, add modifier, generate, and then subdivision surface, I'll just click on it. And then you can change the levels in the viewport to 3 and the render to 3 as well. But I'm just going to click on X to remove it. I can also press Ctrl 3, and that's the shortcut for adding the subdivision surface modifier, and I just change the render level to 3. I also right click on the object and shade smooth. And now you can see it's nice and smooth. Okay, I'm just going to add some eyes to my ghost. Staying in front view, I'm going to click somewhere around here, maybe a little bit closer. Press Shift A to add mesh UV sphere. I'm going to press S to scale it down to about this big. Press 7 on my numpad to go to top view, and press S to scale on the Y axis. So S and then Y, and scale it down to make it nice and flat, like that. And then I want to rotate it so it aligns with the ghost's body. So R, and then just rotate it like that. Now let's go to side view with 3 on your numpad. Press G and Y and pull it backwards like that. Let's zoom in a little bit. And then R to rotate so it aligns with the ghost's face. Pull it out with a little bit, so G and Y, and just bring it a little bit like that. That's great. Let's go back to front view and then just right click, shade smooth. So now we have one eye. I'm going to just move it a little bit closer like that. But obviously we want another one, unless you want your ghost to only have one eye. So what we'll do is go to the modifiers, add the modifier to this object, generate mirror. Now it mirrors it on itself. By default, it mirrors on the x-axis, and what we want is to be mirrored to the other side of the ghost. So click on this eyedropper, move it above the ghost's body, and just click on it, and you can see it mirrored it on the other side. So that's great. Right, there's one more thing I want to add, and that's a little mouth. So I'm going to click somewhere around here between the two eyes. Press Shift-A to add mesh plane. Let's scale it down, so S to scale, and make it about this big. Go to side view, press S to scale on the y-axis, so S and Y, and scale it down like that. So it's nice and thin. Let's zoom in. Press Ctrl A to apply the scale, and then let's tab into edit mode. Shift right click to move my 3D cursor, and then I'm going to add the loop cut right in the middle here. I'm gonna turn on X-ray so you can see better. Let's press 2 to go to edge mode and press Ctrl B to bevel. So I pull it out like that, and with the wheel of my mouse, I increase the cuts to about this many. So that's 8 bevels right there. Now you want to click on the middle one, and you want to click on this, which is called proportional editing. That means that if I press G because I want to move this edge, this circle appears, and that circle influences anything within. So if I press Z to move this edge downwards, whatever is in the circle of influence, it will also be affected. So I want to make it a little bit arched like that, and then just click. And we can turn off proportional editing. Let's select this edge, and what I'll do is I'm just going to press G and Y to move them a little bit backwards like that. And now let's tap back into object mode and add another modifier. So add modifier generate, and you want to add the solidify modifier. Here you can already see that it has added a little bit of thickness to our object, but I want to make it a little bit more thick to around this much. And now let's press Ctrl 3 to add the subdivision surface modifier. And I'm just going to press G and Y to move the mouth a little bit towards the back, like that. Let's go to front view, right click, shade smooth, and we can also come out of X-ray mode. So that's great. That's my little ghost done. Maybe I'm just going to move it a little bit further up. So G and Z, and put it somewhere here. Quite cute. Now let's go to the shading workspace. So you click here, and this is what will appear. This we don't need, and this window we don't need. So what I'll do is with my crosshair, you can see it's in the top left corner of the bottom window. I pull it towards the left until join areas appears, and then I let it go. And then I do the same here, and it will join those two areas. And now I have my 3D viewport and my shader editor here. Let's just go to front view and zoom in a little bit. Now I'm going to start with the world. So here from this drop down menu, you choose world. I'm going to zoom out. So far we have a background node and a world output. So first, I want to add an HDRI, and I'm gonna go rendered viewport mode, and I'm going to set my render engine to cycles, but if you don't have a really strong computer, you can stay on Eevee, but make sure that the ray tracing is turned on. But I'm going to go to cycles, and I'm going to use my GPU. Click on my denoise and set it to 4 seconds. Now, I want to add an HDRI. It's basically a background picture that gives light to your scene. And the best way to get one is from polyhaven.com. So here I clicked on the night. I went with an HDRI called Preller Drive. So it's a quiet, dark HDRI. All you have to do is click on it, choose a resolution, 2K should be enough, download it to a folder of your choosing, and then you can minimize it. Here, in the shader editor, you press Shift-A to add texture, environment texture, and just pop it here. Click on Open. Go to the folder where you downloaded your HDRI. So here's mine, and just double click on it to open it, and then you can hook it up to the color. So that's great. Now, you can also use a mapping node to change the direction of the light of your HDRI. To do that, you need to go to Edit, Preferences, Get Extensions, and type in Node Wrangler. Now, I already have it installed, so it's not going to show up for me. But if it showed up for you, just click on Install. And once you've done that, you go to your add-ons, type in Node Wrangler, and tick it here. And then you can close down the preferences menu. So once you've done that, click on your environment texture node, press Ctrl T, and this will add the mapping node for you. And in my prototype, I set the rotation, the Z rotation, to 256. And that changed the direction of the light. So this time it's coming from the right front, so somewhere around here. So that's great. Another thing I've done, because right now you can see the HDRI image, which I don't really want to see. So what I'll do is I'm going to click on my background node, press Shift D and duplicate it and bring it down here. And then this will be the color of my background. Actually, I'll bring it down a little bit more. And I want to keep the light of the HDRI. So this background node will be that, but I want to mix it up. So I press Shift A to add shader, mix shader. And I'll pop it here, and I'm going to plug the second background node into the shader. Now we also need a light path. So again, Shift A to add, input, light path, and pop it up here. And the camera ray, so the first node, first output, you plug it into the vector of your mix shader. So now you can see it's all gray. You can change the color here and the strength of it, but for now I'm going to leave it. Although I am going to change the strength of my light of the HDRI to 0.2. So you can see it's much darker now. But here I want to add the gradient. So first of all, I'm not going to use a gradient texture. I'm going to use a sky texture. So press Shift A to add, and then here in the search, type in sky, and this will come up. I'm going to plug this in here, and you can see there's a gradient already that looks like a sky. And then press Shift A to add, and I'm going to tap ramp because we want to use a color ramp to change the colors of the gradient, and just put it between these two. So that's great. Now this drop down menu, I changed it to the pre-thumb, and now let's add some colors. So the first color I used, all you have to do is click on here on this little slider and then click on the color. And I'm just going to copy my color code here. Press enter, and this is my first color. Also here, this number, I'm going to change it to 7.8. And then let's click on this slider. So for this slider, I also have a color code. This is the color I used. So you can already see the gradient showing up. That's great. And then I wanted another color in the middle. With this plus sign, you add an extra color. And for this color, so click on it. If you want to use the same colors I used, then just copy this code. And now what we want is to just bring them a little bit closer. So I pull this to around here, and then this one to around here. Okay, so that's great. Obviously, you can use whatever colors you want. That's fine. Right, so that is my world setup. Now let's go to this drop down and choose object. Click on your little ghost, and here add the new material. Now for my ghost, I'm going to just name it Ghost Body. And I used a very light blue color like that. But it doesn't really matter because I also added an emission. And this will be the color that will matter. So for this one, I used this color code. So at the moment, my ghost is very blue, but don't worry about it because we will strengthen the emission. I went up to around 12 or 13, and you can see my ghost started glowing. So that's great. Now, I wanted my ghost to be a little bit opaque. So I'm going to pull down the alpha to around 0.08, 0.9 or 0.1. And now you can see that my little ghost is translucent. And that's great. And I added a subsurface scattering to it. So once we set up the lights will be, so to speak, penetrating through my ghost. So subsurface scattering in Blender for an opaque ghostly object is basically a rendering technique that simulates the light going through the surface, scattering internally and exiting at a different point. And the way I set it up, so you go here to subsurface and pull the weight up all the way to 1. Now the radius is where you set up the colors. So you can see we have 3 different setups. One of them is the X, the other one is the Y, and the third one is the Z. And they act like the RGB color channels. So the first one would be the red. And I don't really want too many reds, so I'm going to set this to 0.1. The green, so that's the G, I'm going to leave it on 0.2, but I want the blue to be higher, so I set it to 1, like that. And that's great. Now the ghost already starting to look quite good. Click on the eye and add the new material. For the eye, I'm going to call this eye black. And the base color, I'll pull it almost all the way down to black. I'll always leave it a little bit more grayish. So that's great. And I'm going to leave the roughness on halfway through. And what I want is to create a new slot. So go to your slot, press plus, and edit a new material called eye white. Now what we want is here in the 3D viewport, press tab and go into edit mode. Press 3 to go to face mode and just choose a couple of faces like that. Holding down shift, that's the way you can select more than one face. Go back to your slot, click on the eye white and assign it like that. And I think I'm going to hold down the roughness on that one all the way, so it's nice and shiny. So that's great. Let's come out of edit mode, click on the mouth, and then you can just add it the eye black material, so it's black like that. So that's great. Right, let's jump back to the layout workspace, and I'm going to go to rendered view. So that's my little ghost almost done. Now I want to set up my camera. To go to your camera view, you can either click here or you can press 0 on your numpad and that will jump in and out of camera view. To be able to set up your view, click on this little locket. That will lock your camera and then you can start setting up your scene like this. So I think I'm quite happy with just leaving it like that. And now I want to add some lights. So let's go to top view. Let's move our 3D cursor to somewhere around here. So shift right click and this will snap your 3D cursor here. You want to press shift A to add light and you want to add an area light. Press 3 to go to side view and you want to direct it at your ghost. So you can move it with this little yellow handle. And then let's go to top view and rotate it so it goes at the ghost. And I also want to just scale it up a little bit. Now let's go to front view and S to scale on the Z like that. And I'm going to press G and Z because I want it to be higher up and move the little handle. So it's like that. Here with this light bulb icon, you can change the power and the color. So with the color, let's take it towards the blues a little bit, somewhere like there. And let's set the power to 30. So now you can go back to camera view and you can see it's directing this bluish light at my ghost. Let's go back to top view, press Shift D to duplicate this light, bring it here and then direct it at the ghost. And I'm going to press G and just move it a little bit further away like that and press S to scale. But I'm going to turn up the light to 100 watts. And for the color, I went towards the yellows a little bit. So something like this. Now let's have a look. Okay, that looks good. And then press numpad 7 again. Press Shift D to duplicate it. Bring it somewhere around here. R to rotate it. S to scale. And just bring it a little bit closer to somewhere around here. And for this one, I added a saturated dark blue color. This is the color code I used. And I set the power to 1000, like that. I scaled it up a little bit, and now if you look through the camera, you can see this blue light coming from behind the eyes. I also set it to rectangle and maybe just scale it down a little bit. Like that. Okay, so that looks good. Now, I just want to change the contrast a little bit, and I think I'm gonna go back to my shading workspace, into my Word tab, and change the strength here to 0.4. Actually, even let's go down to 0.2. That's great. And I think because I don't want the mouth to be so shiny, so I'm going to pull up the roughness to around 0.7. Okay, go back to the layout workspace, go to your render properties. And the last thing we do, we are going to add some contrast. So under the color management tab, set it to filmic and set it to high contrast. That's great. Now I'm going to render this image out. You can either go here to this tab and press render image, or you can just press F12. Okay, so this is the final rendered image, but I want to add some glow to it. So I'm just going to minimize it, go to my compositing workspace, and first of all press N to make that menu disappear and pull out a new window like that. Here on the left hand side, I click on new and click on the backdrop because I don't want to see my image there. And in this window, from this drop down, I'm going to change this to the image editor. And from this drop down, I'll open my render result. And zoom in here a little bit. And now I want to add the filter. So Shift-A to add filter glare and just pop it right between the two. So you can already see there's a glow to it, but it's a little bit too much. So here, the streaks, in my prototype, I changed it to sunbeams. I brought the strength down to somewhere between 0.1 and 2. Brought down the saturation to about 0.5. And for the tint, I changed it to a pinkish color. That was the color code I used. And then changed the size a little bit, like that. So that's quite eerie, so to speak. And the rest, I left it as it is. So this is my final image. Now, if you bring up your render result, then you can see all these changes you made, it appeared here. So it looks really good. I like it. Now, to save this image, you go here, either here in the compositor, go to save or save as, name it, whatever you want to name it, final image ghost, and then save as image. And that's it. Our little ghost is done. So once again, if you enjoyed this tutorial, click on subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next one.